Ben Wieder's here, investigative reporter for McClatchy, reported extensively on Epstein with us now. Are we getting closer to this answer of what did Epstein have on all of these people, or what made him appealing even after the guilty plea?
I think absolutely. I mean, I think what is evident from this reporting, and it really underscores what's sort of dribbled out over the last few years since his death, is for many, many people, the fact that Jeffrey Epstein potentially could write six-figure checks, seven-figure checks, I should say, was more important than any crimes he committed, was more important than any sort of morality that came into question with him. And the big question that has still remained is what kind of work did he do to earn this money? We still don't really know. I mean, we know some of the people he's done work with, Les Wexner, Leon Black, who you mentioned already. We know he did some work for them. We still don't exactly know what that work was. And so I think the fact that, we're seeing people like Jamie Dimon about to be deposed, the fact that there are multiple lawsuits now targeting banks that did work with Epstein, we may finally start to understand that piece of the puzzle, which has up to now remained a mystery.
You made a great point of what he did to earn the money. Dershowitz, who was on the program on Monday, made the point, look, no one really thought he was all that great of a money manager, yet he was allegedly managing billions upon billions of dollars. And it leads to this idea that there was something else up, right? That all these people were giving him this money to manage for some other reason, which would be perhaps even a bigger secret. Or he had some kind of compromise on people that forced this to happen. How are we going to get that answer?
I think we're going to get that answer, or at least closer to that answer, by understanding more about these relationships. For example, Jess Staley, the former banker from JPMorgan, former head of Barclays Bank, who lost his job because of his connection with Epstein. That's a relationship that I think the more we learn about what their relationship actually entailed, the more we'll understand, how Epstein was able to develop these deep relationships with people who on the face of it, didn't need an additional resources. I mean, these were the titans of industry. So how was he able to convince them to either give him money or give him access to all sorts of things that they should have known better than to do? That remains a really big question. I mean, I think we've been fascinated for ages by what his hold was over Wexner, and that's how it was described, that he really had a hold over Les Wexner, who was the original billionaire who helped put him on the map. The same could be said for Leon Black. I mean, these are men who, in every other arena of life, are seen as extremely tough characters that have made lesser people in business weep. What kind of hold did Epstein have over them? It's a lingering mystery, and I think we'll start to learn that as some of these figures start to get deposed. I mean, that is, of course, if they say anything.
Right. And then there were all the people who hung out with him even after he pleaded guilty, right? So it's a second level of having a hold or having something that you have, that if someone's been convicted of a sex crime or pled guilty to it with an underage girl, most people don't want to associate with that. I only got about 30 seconds, a couple sentences left. You're a great reporter. You've been on this story for a long time. Is it clear to you that there are powerful people still trying to protect the ghost of Epstein, that there's things that people are trying to make sure doesn't come out?
Absolutely. I mean, the Miami Herald is still fighting for access to parts of the Ghislaine Maxwell's lawsuit against Virginia Giuffre. There are people who are actively fighting every day to keep these things secret. And it's, good reporting that has pushed for this information to come to light, and great reporting like the Wall Street Journal that has brought so much to light in recent days.
Yeah, it's really been incredible what the journals come out with. And every time there's more reporting, it just begs more questions. Ben, stay on the story. We will as well. We'll have you back to talk about it. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.